the previous slide. And then we're looking at offering some new farmer training and subdivided plots that new farmers can rent until we can help them transition into a farm of their own or another property. And then community building. We're looking at doing some nature-based programming, woodland management, those types of things, nutrition education. And then the farm right now donates about half of the food it produces to food pantries in Youngstown, in Farrell, and in Lawrence County. And we're looking to continue that charitable food support and actually try and grow it if we're able to do that. So we will be guided by sustainability practices, by regenerative and organic agricultural practices, particularly the regenerative side. And then even though we're a secular agency, we want to honor the spiritual legacy of the property in ways that it's appropriate for us to do so. That's my presentation. That's what I have. That's a little bit about what you can do to be more sustainable in your eating practices, how agriculture fits at least into Pennsylvania's economy, and then a project that we're currently working on to address things.
Thank you, Sandy. That was great.
I'll
Thank
take
you for
questions.
coming and attending. Oh, you broke up there. Are you with us?
I'll take questions.
I'm sorry?
I'll take questions.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, let's put it in chat.
All right. Yeah. Hi, this is Sean. I'm from Westminster. I'm the president of the Entrepreneurship Center. I actually had a question if you wouldn't mind answering.
Sure.
All right. So at Westminster, we have a couple of students working on an environmental and business course right now. And one of our ideas was possibly getting a cash crop planted in one of the open fields here at Westminster. I was wondering if you had any advice or any tips on maybe what crop we should produce, or maybe how to get started in order to, get extra opportunities for farmers and people to buy locally in our area.
So I know, and I don't know if you could look at this at Westminster. I know one of the things that we've talked about at the Villa is growing hemp. There's some interest in the county, Lawrence County particularly, in hemp production. I went to Mohawk in high school, and a couple of and I'm 44, or I will be, so take that with a grain of salt. That was like 20, 40, 25 years ago. But a couple of the folks that I went to high school with who are now farming are starting to grow hemp. We are not looking at hemp necessarily for medicinal purposes. My boss is actually really interested in hemp for paper and fiber production. As the type of agency that we are, we could not look at getting into like CBD oil or medical marijuana, but we're really interested in hemp for other uses. It has some culinary uses. You can actually make a composite building material with it, which is kind of cool. It's more expensive to use at the outset, but then the utility costs for the homes, I believe, are like 20% less after you've built the home than a conventionally built home. But like you said, I'm not sure if that's something that you grow on campus. So take that with a grain of salt. Other things that I'm particularly interested in that I see making a comeback are heritage varieties of vegetables, or heirloom varieties of vegetables and heritage grains. So you could look at a heritage grain crop. We have some community gardens that we're going to be starting in Butler County. And one thing that we're going to do this fall is plant a cover crop on those gardens. And we really wanted to plant something that would get them in the spring when we turn it over, but would also give us a cash crop that we could harvest. And we're looking at heritage red winter wheat as a cover crop. It's a variety called Turkey Red. The gluten composition is completely different than modern hybridized wheat. So someone who is gluten intolerant is more likely to be able to eat products made with a heritage grain than they are with conventionally farmed grain. So those are sort of two areas where I would maybe start to look at. I would think you would get more traction probably knowing Westminster with something like a heritage grain or an heirloom vegetable. If you wanted a quick turnaround, this is not a field crop, but you could be doing something like microgreens. But you would probably be growing them indoors. But if you're going to do something outside, those niche markets are really starting to come back, and there's a lot of interest in the heirloom and the heritage crops. So that's kind of where I would steer you to. Find something too where the processing infrastructure exists. One thing that when I'm looking at who I'm going to have grind our wheat, we'd like to make a small batch of flour with it. This is not what we're going to do at the villa yet, because we're probably not doing any activities, I would think, at the villa until probably next year at the earliest, and probably the summer. I found a mill in Butler County that will clean the wheat, but because even though it's a heritage variety, still considered to be an allergen. So they will clean it for me, but they won't grind it. So now I'm kind of on the hunt for somebody that will grind it for us after we harvest it in the spring. So that's the other thing I would kind of take into consideration too, is how are you going to harvest it? And what are you going to do with it as your end product? And make sure that if Westminster doesn't have the processing capacity for what you want to do as your end product, make sure that there is processing capacity in the region, because that is not just for meat processing. We are lacking agricultural processing across the board. So that's sort of just some thoughts I would give you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. So that kind of led into the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, so you talked about your Villa Farm project and things
Right.
you're looking to do with it. So at the Westminster Entrepreneurship Center, we work with local businesses and groups and things like that. And we help do like market research and business, advice and kind of helping projects like that kind of get on their feet and get going. We were just wondering if you were maybe interested or like some more information or would be open to getting some of that, something like that.
So interestingly enough, we not with your current professor, but with the individual who was there prior to when he was there, we had started to have that discussion about how Westminster could be engaged and what we were wanting to do at the villa. So we would definitely want to continue that conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know we get a lot of, they get a couple of interns every year from Westminster, from the environmental studies programs. So yes, that's definitely something that we would be willing to do. We're connected also to BC3, and we're connected also to Penn State. But we have been talking to Ron for a while about how SCORE could be involved in what we want to do. So we don't want to duplicate things that are being done, but we want to kind of, I guess, consolidate everybody together and kind of come up with an education plan for our farmers that uses resources that are available, and then we can create resources that where there are gaps. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
right, any other questions?
Okay, sorry to butt in earlier, Sandy. I thought your screen went blank.
Oh, no, that's okay.
But yeah, thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. The next presentation we'll have is next week on the 16th. We're actually going to have that at the Soap Gallery, downtown Youngstown. And I'm sure we'll have a webinar as well. We're going to be filming it and recording. So yeah, everything good?
Yeah, I'm good. You all have my email address. So if we want to continue the conversation with Westminster, just shoot me an email, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming again and have a good night.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
you too.
guys.
Thank you. Take
Thanks,
care.
Andy.